You're tuned in to the W with Walls and the Crew, where winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. On 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
The W Show live back here. Radio Row is where we are. We have a special guest that's joining us. Miss Josina Anderson,
Thank
how are you?
Nice to be here. I appreciate you asking me to come on and be a part of this positive energy. I like to see melanated faces doing their thing. I've been in this business for over 2 decades, so I like seeing the young energy and you guys, participate and coming up with everything you're doing with this whole thing.
And it was much different. We've been talking about it for a couple of days now.
Mm-hmm.
The look of being here in Los Angeles compared to last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were in Tampa last year, and
Mm-hmm.
it was. You could hear a pin drop in that place.
Wow.
There was no one in there.
Well, last year was probably the first time I took off from a Super Bowl. I had been going probably the last 6-7 years, and then I didn't go last year. So I'm back at it, here in LA. So I didn't see what you're talking about, but I believe you.
Yeah. No, because Miami Miami was more like this,
yeah.
and Tampa was slow down. So I'm glad to see that we're not having to be on a Zoom call.
Oh, there you go. Of course, and you need that interaction. The NFL is going to have the in-person availabilities for the teams tomorrow, though it's an hour and a half between both of them. So
Mm-hmm.
California is so spread out, but just to be able to be in person, especially with the beginning of the pandemic, I think this is really important. It's good energy. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to come down here, see Mary J. and I had to do that because I don't, I'm in my 40s now, so I don't just be putting my lipstick on for anybody at this point. But, so I had to come down here and participate in that. I wanted to manifest some energy in terms of the things I wanted to get at with them, and then also kind of be a part of this vibe and this energy as well.
For sure. We're happy that you're here, back at it again.
Mm-hmm.
I know last year was my first year. It was a different experience, like we talked about. Walking in, it was intimidating, but it was a different energy for sure. This year, 180, totally different. But one of my biggest takeaways last year was, where are my girls at? There's not enough women in this industry. So talk a little bit about what it means to you to be a woman in sports.
Well, I've been doing it a long time, girl. So, when I was doing it, if you feel like it's not now, it definitely was a lot less when I started. I went to Carolina, came up out of school like in the year 2000. So I've been doing this since 2002, as far as at least covering the NFL. And even back then, it wasn't even so much that it was not as many females, but it was also what the expectation was of local media at the time. And so let me explain that. So typically in a local media situation, everyone just talks about the team represented geographically in that area.
Yes.
So like if I was in the Broncos, when I was in Denver, you just cover the Broncos.
Right.
So, but my mentality as I started to cover the Broncos and shift from the NBA and the end of the Michael Jordan era and go into the NFL was to cover where my people were, not just by the geographical boundaries of where I am. And so when people come and ask me how you become an NFL insider and all those other things, is because most of the time when you're covering a team at home, people focus on the home locker room.
Right.
I started to shift my focus and go in the away locker room. So then your contacts start to spread. Because in any business that you do, whether it be media, whether it be anything, everything is a people industry.
It is.
It's all about who you know.
It is.
Especially when it comes to getting in the door. Now it's about, to stay in the door. What's up, LeGarrette? Hey! You got that Steelers, Patriots energy. What's up? What's up? I've been covering NFL for a long time, so I'm like auntie at this point. But my point is that, it's all about extending the contacts. And then people are like, oh, why are you breaking something with the Chiefs? How are you breaking something with the Washington football team? Because, your contacts are with the Broncos. Then they start getting other jobs. You focusing in on the away locker rooms. And then that's how you build the contact. And, your knowledge is your goal, but this is your platinum.
Right. Right.
It's who you can call up and, do all this and do that, so I just encourage all of you, wherever you go, build up your Rolodex, That's what I got up out of bed. I knew I was coming down here to talk to Snoop. I was coming, I don't know what everybody else was coming to, and that's what I was coming to do. So, because that's power, that's a commodity. Connects are power.
Absolutely. And for me, being newer to the game, building that network still, what is advice that you have for me to stay headstrong, stay focused, and stay locked in?
Well, I would say, as far as advice on how to stay focused, is the first tenet I would say is be willing to work on the weekends. When I was working in Denver for 6 years, and I didn't think I would be in that market for 6 years, but I was. And I understand God's plan more now in reverse than I did when I was there at the time. But, everybody, glad Friday comes. But there's so many people in here. The difference between separating yourself amongst the group is spending the time that the others don't want to spend. That's really it. And I was in the lab making my tapes, connecting, trying to figure out how I was going to get from, Fox in Denver, and eventually I ended up going to ESPN. I was there for 10 years, but I was in the lab on the weekends, you know what I'm saying? Connecting with people. And if I wasn't doing that, like trying to figure out a way. See, when I go back to that theme of what I was talking about, as far as when you're in Denver, you stick to Denver, you stick to your geographical bounds. But at the time I was pressing the news directors, even when it was time to cover the NFL draft, don't just do it from Dove Valley in Denver, right? No, let's go to Radio City Music Hall. And well, why would we go to New York? We're talking about because you can talk about the Broncos in New York.
Okay.
But now on the side, I was thinking about, well, I want to go to New York because I'm trying to connect with this person. But that's why I had to create it by stretching their mindset.
Right.
As far as you guys can do this, you can do it from radio, you can do this wherever. You see what I'm saying? And so that was going to stretch my, web, and it was going to stretch their web. And I said, if I look bigger, you look bigger. So everybody's winning. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Last one here. One of the recent things has been women in sports outfits being critiqued. What has been your take or your opinion? And then how do you put your swag on what you wear?
Well, first of all, I haven't heard that. And even if I did hear that, even if I did hear that, I wouldn't be listening. Even going back to my days when I was in middle school, you go through the yearbook. And I'm not saying this in a way to pop my collar, but what I'm trying to say is I've always been in the clothes. That goes, you can see that from like middle school, Josina Breast dress, whatever. So that's how I am. This is not a show for people. This is how I am. And I think when you ask about personal style, I try to have an edge and a reflective of fashion, but still have a classic silhouette.
For sure.
So even though I have something that's a little bit form fitting, I'm aware of my length is still below my knees. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
My nails might be long, but they're still classic and put together. You see what I'm saying? And I might have a certain vibe, but you're still listening to the credibility by the way that I talk.
Exactly.
So I'm presenting all of those shades to you, even with everything is thought out. Even when I packed to come to the Super Bowl, I'll take 3 hours and think this is what I'm doing. Matter of fact, before I even do it, I make a list of what I'm wearing Monday because I'm thoughtful about that. I'm thinking about who I'm running into each of those days.
Absolutely.
Because all of that matters. You know what I mean?
It does.
For
it
sure.
really does. It's just man, we really appreciate you giving us some time.
Yes,
really
of course. I appreciate that too.
All right,
Keep it going with your positive energy. Sorry.
Thank you. No, this is a W show. We'll be back with more guests.